Right, I'm back with another review. It's not actually a review this time. It's a new tutorial which people have been asking me for a long time. As you may have noticed, I've gotten into Instagram quite a lot, and not so much Instagram itself. I don't actually use Instagram to edit photos very much. I only use it as a sharing tool. But I've very much gotten into iPhone photography and learning what you can do with the apps on iPhone to make, pretty cool looking photos. So I've done a bunch of blogs on this already, which I'll put the links for down below. But I just want to go through, people have been asking how I do what I do, so I'm just going to show you the apps that I use and the kind of stuff that I do, so hang around. Hey, so here we go, finally people have been hassling me to do this for a long time, and yeah, I'll go through, show you my secrets, or at least some of them. So first up, these are the apps that I use. So by the way, just again, for those of you who are asking, this is my iPhone up on a big screen using HDMI cable, which is super sweet. It works with the iPad as well. One thing that's kind of funny is that these photo apps, some of them exist, you can get them on the iPad, but they don't have the same functions. They seem to be iPhone only functions for like some of the editing and filters and stuff, which kind of sucks. I hope they fix that. But anyway, so there's here's what I do. First of all, when I'm outside, I almost always go straight for the regular camera. Take it first, crop it, edit it later. You can get to it so fast now. You can take stuff, to actually go through. My phone's locked. Usually, it has to be for work. So I usually have to unlock it and go through. And by the time to start up, you lose a couple of seconds. And it's great how you can get to the camera instantly with this. And in most situations, absolutely, the standard camera works. But there's two other camera photo shooting apps that I use. One is the SlowShutter app, and this is where, for example, if you want to take like a busy crowd, or there's lots of faces, you want to be careful of that. It's nice to show kind of blurs and people moving. I like to use the SlowShutter app, although the truth is, unless you're going to have really steady hands, because otherwise the whole thing will look like a mess, and you really got to have a stand, an iPhone stand to use it like for long shots. But I find if you take a half-second shot, you can do it handheld if you really hold still and don't breathe and stuff like that. I've taken some pretty cool shots with that. The other one I do use a lot is Pro HDR. The thing about Pro HDR, the thing about Tokyo, you shoot in Tokyo, is that there's this crazy, you have all this concrete and bright lights and stuff like that, and they have this huge contrast between the shadows and the bright light. And it means that if you shoot something in the shadows, there might be blue sky, but it all looks blindingly white, because the white balance adjustments, the contrast adjustments, been made for the dark part. Sometimes you shoot the blue sky and everything looks black. It's just a silhouette. So this takes two photos, one dark, one bright. It combines them, and that's what HDR is, obviously, although HDR often takes more shots than that. I don't like the HDR look of photos, so I do play around with the settings a lot when I do that. But what I like about this app in particular, you can see, I'll just boom, take a photo. Or you can see my messy the messy room where I do this. So one, and this won't really make any difference because this isn't a good situation for showing the benefits of it. But what I like about this is you can adjust the brightness, the contrast, the saturation, which I like to do that to try to take out that HDR looking thing. I like to brighten the whole thing so that you don't have these white edges and stuff like that. As you know, I do saturate. So I do saturate, I do increase contrast and stuff like that quite a lot. It doesn't look real, but it's an iPhone, it's a pinhole camera, it's not a DSLR, so I think it's okay to do that. And that's, good iPhone photography. If you just take stuff just without any modification, it doesn't look like, it looks like a crappy handheld, whereas the great thing about the iPhone is that you can do these modifications and really make stuff look cool. So I do that. I use these settings you can take in post to play with it, to basically make sure that you can still have the blue sky and the cool colors and the shops and everything. And I take a lot of shots like that. So it's a very good app, Pro HDR, and for a place like Tokyo, an urban setting, I really recommend it. So the three main apps that I edit with are these three. This is Camera Awesome, otherwise Camera exclamation mark. There's Camera Plus, and ProCamera. So now, all of these, why I like these three is that they basically, they're slightly different features of each one that I use. I've got dozens of photo apps, but these are the three that I've settled on the most. All of them have they have previews of how the filters will look applied to each one, little thumbnails of each photo. And I like that because you might be planning to do a certain effect, but you'll go browsing through and you'll see, oh, actually that looks really surprisingly good. Let's do that instead. I do that a lot. So it's kind of fun exploring how you can get different looks on photos. But in terms of filters, the one I really like is ProCamera. It's got the best filters for me. I play with the other ones sometimes, but I use these other two for a different purpose, which is first with Camera Awesome. The thing about Camera Awesome is that it's got a great brightening and brightening sort of function, which they call the Awesomizer. So this isn't maybe the best example because this was taken with Pro HDR. It's already a very bright photo. Photos taken with Pro HDR that are already bright, it doesn't do very much. But if you take photos that have more contrast, it can fix that quite well. And again, you have to remember it's a pinhole camera. It doesn't collect light very well. So, this sort of thing. Most things, like there's one built into Instagram and there's some other apps that should do it, but they always look really horrible and grainy when you've done it, whereas this still keeps it looking relatively nice. It's probably the best one out there, so that's cool. But even if I don't use that, I find that the cropping function on this, and this is another thing, for Instagram, they use the square, the 1x1 format square. Always crop it first, and this is the easiest to crop. It's just default the size of the photo. So you just move it from side to side. If you want to zoom in, you can, but you basically just pick wherever you want it centered, and then it automatically, it's just the easiest to crop. So I tend to crop, and if I brighten with this, and that's it. I might play with the filters, but I don't use the filters so much on Camera Awesome. Next step I'll take after I've cropped it is I will go into Camera Plus. And Camera Plus has something similar to the Awesomizer, but again, it has the same thing. It has the filters, the effects with previews, and I love this and I use these sometimes. But what I mainly do is I take these scenes menu, and you've got these awesome kind of clarity, you've got these brightening, darkening. Darkening can be great actually for bringing out colors, and if you're taking night photography, if you want to take out the graininess, you can actually make you can actually darken the photo to make it look more smooth. And enhance the colors and stuff in it, which is, you can actually take awesome night photos with this, provided you're taking things like lights, bright objects in the dark. You can actually make them really sharp, even though the regular camera won't do that very well on its own. You can use all of these cool things to basically clean up the photos really well before you start applying filters. Filters are the last thing. You can play forever with filters, but for cleaning up the photo, I use Camera Plus to clean them up. And then I use ProCamera mainly. I mean, you can use the other ones for filters as well, but I like the filters on this one the best. And we go here, and this does things like, again, I mean, as filters do, all sorts of effects, but I particularly like the retouch settings. Again, nothing over the top, but I like to brighten them, burst them, enhance the contrast, stuff like that. Just make them look nice and shiny and get attention grabbing. So those are the 3 photo editing apps that I use. The last ones that I've got here, I've got Tiny Planets. This is how I make the planet photos. This is the best photo app for that. You have to take a kind of a landscape, and it has to be kind of a flat horizon where both ends meet up, so it'll look like a proper globe when they bend it round. ColorSplash is you can do it one way or the other. You can make it a black and white photo with one little colorful bit, or vice versa. This is really cool, and I use that every now and then, especially when I'm shooting people. I like to shoot human subjects in black and white, and it's cool to put little color bits into that. But that's really it. Those are the apps that I use, and I share them on Instagram. I don't do anything more than share them, but Instagram is great fun because it's, you get this great instant feedback. In principle, it's all iPhone photography, though of course you can do it with Android now as well, or you can load it, if you really wanted to, you can load another photos from your camera onto your iPhone onto Instagram. Some people do that. I don't, except in very exceptional circumstances, and I say if I do. But it's an awesome app. It's awesome fun. It's great fun, to learn how to use this camera and to make stuff that people think is cool. So yeah, and with Instagram itself, tags are the main thing. I've gone through and picked out tags that mostly relate to the things that I shoot, and it's a great way. A lot of people browse it by tags, so just be aware of that. Pick tags that of topics that you like, that you want to be associated with, and boom, that is it. Instagram. That's how I use Instagram. Those are the apps that I use, and it's awesome fun. I'm really into it, as you've probably noticed if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and which you should do as well. All the links are below. And I hope this is helpful to those people who have been asking me for so long, how do I do this? So that's it. Okay, peace.